Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, the sloppy sports and entertainment talk show that covers New York Giants football, Mets baseball, movies, TV shows, and some life lessons along the way. Some funny stories to get sounds to come out of your mouth in a way that is amusing. On today's episode, we're going to talk about some trending sports and entertainment news. James Gunn saying that Ezra Miller's The Flash is the greatest superhero movie ever made. What? Oscar nominations. And then we're going to look, Groundhog Day is coming up. So we're going to look at some top Groundhog Day movies that I enjoyed that I hope you enjoy as well. We'll also get into my dinner with my daughter at the Cheesecake Factory. Jealous much? And we went to a birthday party, 4-year-old's birthday party at a place called Bounce U. Give my review of that. And then we might finish with some TV talk. The Last of Us and Alice in Borderland. Two TV shows that I'm really enjoying. And I hope that you're enjoying as well. If you're not, get on it. Hop on the old bandwagon. So without further ado, let's get it started. All right, rapid fire. Trending sports and entertainment news stories. Mini bottles of Fireball don't contain whiskey. Sure, why not? I haven't had Fireball in a very long time. I think it was probably my high school reunion, 20-year high school reunion back in October 2018. That's when I decided to not eat, take Adderall, drink my face off, continue to not eat, and then I ended up at the bar that was connected to the private event area and ordered a round of Fireball shots. And most people were not happy about that. And then I pretty much bowed out after that. That was pretty much, that was my swan song. That was me. That was my final act, my great finale, grand finale. Went off without a hitch. And yeah. Got in an accident that morning. I had an eye appointment. They put some drops in my eyes so it was hard to see. I pretty much just hung out in the parking lot of the eye doctor's place until I felt like it wasn't as blurry and I could actually see where I was going. And I pulled out of my parking space, went around to the stop sign, and then looked left, right. No one's coming. Proceeded to go forward, and a car just came right across my grill. Some college student. And then I had to drive down to like the AC area, Surf City, for a high school reunion. Like I didn't go to high school in Surf City. I live currently like 15, 20 minutes from my high school. But that was the 20-year high school reunion. I was married. I just had a kid. It was like literally a month, 5 weeks after having a kid. So I was a bit delirious. Made a mistake of taking the Adderall when I knew I was going to be drinking and then just didn't eat because I was like, well, if I just continue to not eat, maybe I'll appear skinnier to the naked eye. And yeah, I just asked a lot of parenting advice. Got some behavioral therapy from one of the popular girls. All in all, just a humdinger of a night. Anyway, for me, Fireball really like peaked in 2013, I think. 2012, 2013 is when Fireball was like everywhere. Every party had it, every bar, people were taking shots of it. Can't say that I ever had the mini bottles of Fireball. That's for show. Never had the mini bottles of Fireball. I've never been a mini, like I have all kinds of like 2 or 3, 4 maybe mini bottles that I have never opened that are right by the liquor stash that I have or whatever. You know, the people that have whole like bar carts of liquor, how do you do it? How is that? How do you do that? I just feel like I buy a bottle of liquor, I drink it, and it's done. I buy a bottle of liquor, I drink it, it's done. I buy a bottle of wine, I drink it, it's done. There's no like, oh, look at my inventory of liquor. Like, no, I don't have that. But I do have this inventory of mini bottles because I don't know what, like, when would I'm not at that point. I feel like mini bottles are like for airplanes, right? And then for like the true blue alcoholic who needs a little pick me up with the coffee. Just pour that in the coffee. You know, you're just pouring in the coffee, you're pouring in the tea, you're pouring it in something where it's like, that's probably shouldn't be doing that. I'm not at that point yet. The thought crossed my mind like, okay, how do I get through life? Especially work. And I love like the new job I have, I like a lot. A lot of independence, autonomy, you know, not a lot of human interaction, which is so sad. So sad. But there was a point where at SNY, I think it was, where it was like, I'm going into another place, another World Trade Center office where everyone just fucking either hates me or like couldn't care less if I were alive or dead. Like would step over my body, wouldn't piss on me if I was on fire. I heavily, seriously considered, because that was also around the time, like, and I talked about this, September 2021 into October 2021. That 2-month stretch was horrific for mental health. Like probably the lowest I've ever felt. I'd say the lowest I've ever felt, because it was like I'm about a month or two away from moving out and being actually physically separated. You know, I'm like relationship wise separated from my wife, but we've been living together because we want to save money, which is so, I know it sounds stupid. And it's like, why would you put yourself through that hell? But in my head, I'm like, I feel like I'm saving a ton of money, you know, and it's worth it. Maybe, probably not. In retrospect, I probably should just, I don't know, dude. This is my first time getting divorced. Maybe it'll be better the second time around. So yeah, like that September, October 2021, I was like, maybe I should just start sneaking some booze into my coffee. It's just like, that'll make me lighten up a little bit, and maybe I won't get so angry and perturbed and like flustered and frustrated with my coworkers and my boss and all that stuff. It's like SNY drove me to drink. I wasn't even there a year, and they drove me to drink. Mostly because of the way that they handled me and my divorce when I told them about it. It was like my boss, her advice, who she had been divorced, but apparently didn't have kids from that marriage where she got divorced, was like, you gotta like make sure you take the cleaning supplies. And she said that once, as I feel like as a joke, and I kind of like, you know, half laughed. And then she kept saying that every time I brought it up, and I was just like, are you an idiot? Like, are you a dum-dum? Or you're just uncreative? Or all of the above? Part of me thinks she did get fired because I saw a listed position that was hers, but it was like a little more senior. So either she got fired, or they are hiring someone directly above her to drive her out. I don't know. The way SNY works, it's just so like toxic. Anyway, Fireball. That sucks that mini bottles of Fireball don't contain whiskey, but I don't know that I have ever really drank from a mini bottle directly. Like I got it on, like I've said, I've gotten them on airplanes. And man, the flight attendants are actually pretty well, at least the flight attendants that I've had where I've ordered the mini bottles are very generous with it. They're like, hey, it's like that scene in Forgetting Sarah Marshall where the guy's at brunch and he like brings an extra one. He's like, hey, don't tell anyone. And then later he punches the guy when he's off duty. Interesting. King of the Hill and Futurama are being revived and are coming to Hulu. I don't watch a ton of Hulu. I did watch a movie called Duel with Karen Gillan that I took an edible before watching it, and the movie is only like an hour and a half, and it felt like the longest movie in the history of the world. And I think it's a comedy. I didn't laugh, but I'm sure if I rewatched it again and I was drunk, I'd probably laugh. I don't know. I'm also in a weird state of mind. Like it's based. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on this, but the plot of the movie is like, if you are dying and the pain of your death is going to dramatically impact your friends and family, you can get cloned. And then that clone has like a training period where like your last remaining days, months, weeks, whatever, they like shadow you at like an understudy, and they follow you, and they try to learn everything there is to learn about you. And then when you pass, they take your spot. And then it's like supposed to be like almost like a seamless transition. But there are times where, like, for instance, in this movie, Karen Gillan is the protagonist, main character, given like that scene was pretty funny. It's a dark comedy. Even for me, it's a little too dark. But I still appreciate the effort. It's like, I watched some dark comedies and I enjoy dark comedies, but this is like, a lot of it's tough to handle. But that scene where the doctor diagnoses her and is like, there's 0% chance that you're going to survive. Like you're going to die. And then there are instances where all of a sudden a miracle happens, or, they beat the odds and the original person is going to live, but then the clone exists. The clone has been created. And so then they have to duel to the death. Pretty cool premise. And I didn't hate it, but it felt very muted and monotonous. And I don't know if that was the intention or what, but like, there were definitely some funny parts. I think it's worth checking out, but it's not going to make my top 10 list or anything like that, but it's not like bottom 10 either. So King of the Hill and Futurama going to Hulu. Okay, cool. I think the only thing that I watched the Pam and Tommy special on Hulu. I tried watching Fresh on Hulu, the movie about like the girl goes on a date with a guy and goes back to his place and then ends up getting drugged and held prisoner and hostage, and apparently he's a cannibal. And the scene where he starts to like chopping up the human parts, the legs and stuff, I was like, boop, goodbye. No, thank you. Like there was a friggin' series on Netflix about cannibals, and I was just like, I don't want to call me old fashioned, but can't like, and I like zombie movies, but there's something about like a normal human eating another human. Like zombies aren't humans, right? We'll all agree with that. King of the Hill and Futurama, two shows that I probably should have watched more of, considering I'm a huge Mike Judge fan and I love The Simpsons growing up, but I kind of fell off The Simpsons when I got to college. Really, I kind of stopped watching them then, and then King of the Hill, I don't think I ever really got into, but. If you're fans of those shows, I think Futurama is one of those shows where I think I could binge a whole bunch marathon style. King of the Hill, I don't know if I could do it. I'm a huge Mike Judge fan. I love Beavis and Butthead, and I love all his movies. Idiocracy, even what was it called? Extract was okay. I don't know. The King of the Hill never really touched me in the funny bone. Pam Anderson, she's got that new memoir coming out called Love Pamela or something like that. So like all these little excerpts are coming through. So she's got this memoir coming out, Love Pamela, and she Rolling Stone had obtained an excerpt from the book, and it detailed, the headline was like, the Pamela Anderson and Kid Rock's relationship ended with the release of Borat, the first Borat movie in 2006. First, I would like to say that did they get married? Pam Anderson and Kid Rock, did they get married? Apparently they did, which is, I didn't think they were married, but yeah, I guess they were married. I totally forgot about that. It's just, I don't know why. I just didn't remember that. But it's, I guess it makes sense, right? You're going to go from time. She just loves fucking rock stars, Tommy Lee to Kid Rock to Bret Michaels, a whole bunch of rock stars. It's like, maybe, I know you have a type, but maybe like, I don't know, branch out a little bit. You ever think about like a divorced dad as a content strategist and programming analyst who has a podcast? No? Okay, cool. Pam Anderson. Oh boy. But yeah, she was just talking about how they went to see the release of you know what? This is why I can't do this podcast anymore. I first forgot to put the little lavalier mic on me, and then I forgot to charge a laptop, And then. Oh my God, dude, this is why I shouldn't do this friggin' podcast. My memory stinks. But yeah, so apparently Kid Rock got up pissed when Pam Anderson didn't tell him that she made an appearance in the film. There was mention of the sex tape, and as soon as the sex tape was mentioned in the movie, he like got up and stormed out, and then peeled out in his car, leaving her alone. And she just was like, "Can anyone give me a ride?" And then when she got back to her place, or their place, Kid Rock like smashed some picture of hers, and that was pretty much the end of that. It's like the tormented genius of some musicians and artists, right? Like, you're dating Pamela Anderson. Are you married to Pamela Anderson? Why not? I mean, you knew there was a sex tape. Was that a stipulation of the marriage? Like, no mention of the sex tape? That's something you kind of agreed to take on. That's the baggage that you like accepted, that carry-on baggage when you proposed or when you said your I do's. Like, you knew that was a thing. And then like it comes out in this like a fucking mockumentary comedy movie with Sacha Baron Cohen, and that was the end. That was the end of it. That was the end of your relationship. It feels like there was a lot of other stuff going on there. To TBH. So it's just I'm tempted to like read it, because I did end up getting like the Jenna Jameson book on my Kindle, just for shits and gigs, like How to Make Love Like a Porn Star, I think it was called, or something like that. And it was just I don't think I'm ready for this jelly. You know what I'm saying? Like I just like, oh, you're like, I know we're both humans, but you're in such a different realm of life. Like, such a different realm of life that I cannot relate to any of this. But still entertaining as hell. But also like, oh, you just keep making the same mistakes, huh? That's just what you do? Okay. I mean, I guess I keep making the same mistakes, so I can't, those who let she who cast the first stone be smited. I don't. He who without sin cast the first stone. So I'm not casting any stones, Jenna or Pam. But it is, I mean, I guess there's a lot of pressure that comes with dating or being married to Pamela Anderson, like a friggin' sex icon. I mean, I was never really threatened by many other guys that my current ex-wife was friends with when we were married or dating. There was one guy where I was like, this seems a little fishy. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I'm not going to yell about it. I'm not going to get, steamed. But at the same time, if it escalates, I might, start being a little more inquisitive about the nature of the relationship. But yeah, when it's Pamela Anderson, it's like everyone, doesn't matter if she's married to you or not. Like, everyone's like, they're going to shoot their shot. They're going to try their best. So I'd imagine that kind of builds up in a lot of guys, where it's just like, it's hard not to be jealous or suspicious when it's like, I mean, literally she could have any guy she wants. But just hilarious that it's Borat. The Borat movie is the reason that they split. And it's that one scene, and he calls her a whore, and it's like, okay, interesting. Hulk Hogan can't feel his legs anymore, or his lower body anymore. That is sad news. That's I think Big Cat from Barstool mentioned that there's no better reminder of how old you, because he just had his birthday, I guess, yesterday, the day before. And he's like, there's no reminder of how old you feel than seeing like present day wrestlers and porn stars that you grew up with, or that, in your heyday, in your prime, you followed, I guess is the word you'd say. And I can't imagine, like, Hulk Hogan's career spanned as a wrestler, pro wrestler. I mean, I think he started in the 70s. And then he went all the way. I mean, there was a stint with like TNA or something like that. So he went into the 2010s, I think. So you're looking at like 40 years, 30, at least 30 plus years of taking bumps and that leg drop, which the leg drop looks so innocuous. Like as a kid, when he does that, you're not even like, oh, look how brutal that leg drop was. As a kid, you're just like, that's it. He's going to win the match. It was kind of like, it was just like a signal that, okay, this is it. He's going to win the match 1, 2, 3. And then we can play the song and we can flex and then we can all rejoice. That was a leg drop to me. It wasn't like, oh my God, a leg drop to the neck or the face or whatever. He lands it. But think about how many leg drops he's landed in his life. 30 plus, 40 plus years of wrestling 5, 6, maybe even 7 nights a week, you know, leg drop every night. Had to be a leg drop every night, just about 365 days a year times 30 or 40 years. It's like 90,000 leg drops. I'm not really good at math, but 365 times 30. 300 times 30. So, all right, maybe like 9,000. 10,000 leg drops. I'll over under 10,000 leg drops. I'll take the over. And it doesn't look like it hurts the person, but it looks like that would hurt you. Cause like it does more damage to the dude to Hulk Hogan doing the leg drop than it does the guy getting leg dropped on. Cause you're jumping up and then you're coming straight down on your butt, which is jolting your spine up into your freaking brain. It's probably why you don't see a lot of dudes with the leg drop as a finishing move anymore. And yeah, that's probably got to do something to do with it. I don't know, but yeah, that sucks, man. So hoping Hulkster is able to, like, I don't know, overcome, you know. Broncos agreed to give the Saints picks for Sean Payton to be their head coach. You have to think that that makes the Broncos a playoff team, borderline playoff team. I mean, their defense, I don't know what their salary cap is or free agents, but I mean, they had a top 2 defense. I mean, in terms of scoring defense, I think they were top 3 or that had to be top 5 at the least. And they just couldn't figure it out on offense with Russell Wilson, who was also hurt for a lot of the season. So you'd have to think that Sean Payton's going to come in and turn it around. I don't know if it's going to be one season that he's going to turn around, but I think they'll be a lot more competitive and win more games in season 1 of his tenure. But yeah, that seems like because the AFC West with Derek Carr leaving the Raiders are kind of in a state of flux. The Chargers keep shooting themselves in the foot. Seems like they have some great weapons on offense. Herbert, Eckler, Williams, Keenan. It just seems like they have a bunch of great offensive weapons, and their defense is not too bad with Bosa and I think Khalil Mack, right? They have a decent roster. It's just like there's no reason they should have blown that 27-point lead. Just run the ball. So, because someone needs to take down the Chiefs. This is getting ridiculous. Someone needs to take them down. So maybe that with Sean Payton going to Denver, and I don't know, the Chargers are the Chargers. I don't think I think they'll win a lot of games and be a playoff contender next year, but it's like they're going to continue to shoot themselves in the foot, I think. So those are like the trending sports entertainment stories from the past week that kind of stood out to me. The other 2 ones, or I guess 3 ones that stood out that I'm going to go a little more in depth on. James Gunn says Ezra Miller's The Flash is probably one of the greatest superhero movies ever made, which is like, he couched it with probably, but that's still a very bold statement. The movie's scheduled to hit theaters on June 16th. The storyline, quote unquote, resets everything for the franchise, which they kind of need, right? A hard reset. But it's also like, I wonder if this was always in the plans, or if it was like, we've had 2, 3, 4 stinkers in a row. Let's reset it. You know what I mean? Because I mean, at least with Marvel, they had there was, I forget which Comic-Con it was or whatever, but there was like one where it's like, hey, there's going to be 5 phases or something like that. And it's going to span 13, 15, 20 years or something like that. It was like, that's a plan. And they stuck to it. And for the most part, they nailed it. I mean, this phase that they're currently in has been kind of rough. You know, I don't think they've had anything really that's been a standout per se. But who knows? I mean, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is coming out, I think, in February, which maybe not a great sign, but also maybe they're trying to capitalize on Valentine's Day. So this is like a very tragic love story, possibly. But DC, it seems like they went through, you know, they just keep trying to get something started and they can't. And so maybe this is what's the Flash is going to just reset everything and set up this new phase that Gunn and his partner are going to usher in. Ezra Miller, who I just learned today is non-binary, referred to as they, them, which I still can't wrap my head around. I wish we could come up with a better word. Suffering complex mental health issues and has been undergoing treatment. I mean, I've been kind of vague, like very softly following the storyline of events, and it's just like, whoa, dude. I can't believe this guy is not like serving sentences in jail. I can't believe this movie is still coming out, especially with James Gunn now in the lead. But the fact that he's come in and said it's probably one, I mean, he could have very easily just been like, I know you've like spent, I mean, HBO and DC or whatever, not shy about just scrapping an entire movie that they've spent millions of dollars on. What was that Batgirl movie that they spent like, I think they had already spent $70-80 million on. They were just like, nope, you'll never see the light of day. I mean, I imagine the Flash is going to be way like 3-4 times more expensive. So I don't know that you could just cancel it. But the fact that he came out and said it's probably one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. This is a dude who made the Guardians of the Galaxy series. And he's made, I guess, Peacemaker, Suicide Squad. So, like, he knows a thing or two about, I mean, that's the whole reason he's been hired as the co-head of DC Studios. The Flash will be directed by Andy Muschietti, who made It and It Chapter 2. So, are we supposed to, I mean, maybe this is a horror movie we're looking at? So, that's pretty intriguing, and it's already been leaked, and I guess it was a teaser trailer which I must have missed, where Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton both return as Batman. Although I read a headline that said that Michael Keaton has not been used appropriately, or DC did not make the most of Michael Keaton, which is like, come on, how do you fall flat on that? So I thought it'd be interesting to just look at, because Gunn also announced phase 1 or chapter 1 of their projects for DC Studios, 10 new projects. But before those roll out, you still have Shazam Furry. That would be pretty funny. Shazam Furry of the Gods or Furry of the Dogs. I can't decide. One version, Furry of the Gods, would be like Shazam is trapped and held hostage at a furry convention, which I like that idea. The other is Shazam Furry of the Dogs, and it's like they're all transformed into dogs, which I guess would be too close to League of Super Pets, which I watched with my daughter, where it was like The Rock and Kevin Hart voicing the dogs or pets of Superman and Batman. It's actually not a bad animated movie if you're and your kiddos are looking for something to watch. And then so you have that coming out St. Patrick's Day, and then you have The Flash coming out June 16th, Blue Beetle on August 18th, and then Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom on December 25th. And Gunn has said that there haven't really been any decisions one way or another on like Ezra Miller staying on as the Flash, Jason Momoa staying on as Aquaman, and Blue Beetle should be interesting. I don't know that. I mean, I've definitely heard the name, but I don't know a damn thing about the character or backstory or anything like that. So chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. Here are the 10 new projects. First one, Creature Commandos, a 7-episode animated series written by James Gunn, already in production. Team of classic monsters assembled to fight Nazis, a modern take on the concept. Voice actors have yet to be cast. Executives are looking to find people who can voice the animated characters and also portray the live action versions when the antiheroes show up in movies and series. Okay. My mind immediately goes to Werewolf by Night. I wonder if that had any kind of influence or impact on James Gunn, like seeing that on Disney Plus and seeing the possibilities, and that like people are just I don't think we'll reach the saturation point with monsters. So, especially classic monsters. So I wonder if that had any, probably not, but it was, I like the sound of that. Fighting Nazis, it's like, I get it. They're the worst. But it's just like, they're just, can we find a better villain? I understand that they're the worst, but like, can we just find a better villain or a group of villains? Like, can we just find someone else to fight? It's just like we've seen so many times. I guess a lot of people, they will never get tired of that, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, it's like it's kind of like, how many times can you fight the Nazis? They're still around. We haven't conquered them yet. Holy shit! No, actually, in real life, we have not conquered them yet. Which is, I don't think, are we ever going to conquer them? Next one is Waller. It's a spinoff of Peacemaker. Viola Davis set to return. Being written by a writer from Watchmen, which I like. Yeah, James Gunn has assembled his own little league of super writers, league of Justice League of writers. Like he pulled in someone from Watchmen, and then Jeremy Carver, the creator of the Doom Patrol TV series, which I enjoyed for like 2 seasons, maybe 3, and then I just kind of fell off. I was just like, I don't know where this is going. It's getting a little too out of control. Maybe I need to hop back into it though. Superman Legacy. This is a movie featuring the Man of Steel that Gunn is writing and may direct. No commitments yet, but this will be the true kickoff for their DCU plans. Not an origin story. It'll be Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. He's the embodiment of truth, justice, and American way. He's kindness in a world that thinks that kindness is old-fashioned. That'll be July 2025, which apparently they've said 2025 is going to be a huge year for DC. It better, kid. It's freaking 2 years away. Oh my God. Which makes sense. That's how long a lot of these big budget movies take. Lanterns. Greg Berlanti's long in the works Green Lanterns TV series has been scrapped, parted ways. In its place will be a new take on the space cops with power rings. Our vision for this is very much in the vein of True Detective, terrestrial based. Will feature Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, and one of the most important shows they have in development. Plays a really big role in leading the main story we are telling across film and TV. Yeah, so I mean, if I had to make a comp here, I would say, when you're looking at probably what we all consider to be the most successful phase of MCU was when Guardians was introduced, because Guardians kind of introduced Thanos, and Thanos was the culmination of Avengers. So it feels like Lanterns is going to be to DC what Guardians was to Marvel. Just a guess. Just a hunch. The Authority, a movie based on a team of superheroes with rather extreme methods of protecting the planet that first originated in the late 90s. One of the things of the DCU that is not just a story of heroes and villains. Not every film and TV show is going to be about good guy versus bad guy. Giant things from the sky come and good guy wins. There are white hats, black hats, and gray hats, which I dig. I dig gray hats. Kind of like Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men. They know that you want them on the wall, or at least they believe that. Okay. I dig it. I mean, this sounds similar to Suicide Squad, but also maybe The Boys, a little bit of that flavor, which I dig. I like the idea of like, these guys are not good or bad. They're just kind of like, they pick and choose their spots. They're mercenaries. And sometimes they help, sometimes they're just out for themselves. So The Authority, I dig it, man. I like it. Paradise Lost. This is a HBO Max series, Game of Thrones style drama set on an all-female island Themyscira, Wonder Woman's birthplace. Political intrigue, scheming it takes place before the events of the Wonder Woman films. So I don't know that Gal Gadot is going to return as Wonder Woman. I think that has run its course, which is kind of sad in a way, because it was like, I mean, after that first movie, you're like, okay, they found her, they got it, and they nailed it, and we're going to see like 3, 4, 5 films with her, and then the follow-up was like such a letdown, such a goddamn letdown, especially when you have like Pedro Pascal, Kristen Wiig. It's like, how can we go wrong? And they did. So I don't know if I'm in on this. I mean, I understand the intrigue of Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. Is Wonder Woman going to be in it? It doesn't sound like it. So we'll see. I'll give it a shot, but I'm not too high on it. The Brave and the Bold. Introduction to the DCU Batman. Bruce Wayne and introduces our favorite Robin, Damian Wayne, who's a little son of a bitch. Okay. We'll take inspiration from the now classic run written by Grant Morrison that introduced Batman to a son he never knew existed. A murderous tween raised by assassins. Okay, you got me. All right, hand up. I'm not a comic book guy. I don't know a lot of shit. So when you say Damian Wayne, I'm like, he's a little son of a bitch. I'm picturing like, here's a little annoying brat, spoiled brat. And no, it's a murderous tween raised by assassins. It's a rather strange father and son story, which is cool. What is gonna stick in my craw during this whole phase and this whole run with Gunn is Batman is not going to be played by Robert Pattinson in that DCU Batman. And the fact that he said this is the introduction of the DCU Batman is like, so what are you doing with Robert Pattinson Batman? That's just like, I don't know. That's a little weird to me. I don't know if I like that. Like, I understand. So I get it. Superman, obviously the figurehead of DC, right? Most important. You can't fuck that up again. They're moving on from Henry Cavill. It caused a lot of uproar. They said that they didn't fire Henry, but they just didn't think that he's right for this version of Superman. But reading that description of the premise and the plot, it's like, I don't know. It seems like he's really nailed that part. So I'm very curious to see who they actually find to play it. And I understand Batman's your number 2. You got to nail Batman to get this thing off the ground. Robert Pattinson isn't the guy? Okay. But weirdly enough, they're not moving on from Robert Pattinson as Batman because there's going to be the Batman sequel. Pattinson will continue to portray the Dark Knight in at least one more crime saga movie directed by Matt Reeves. The movie will be released October 3rd, 2025, which October is such a good time to release it because it's like Halloween. I don't think they're going to do Halloween again because they did Halloween the first go round. But they released it in March. Anyway, the Batman Part 2, Superman and Batman within the same year. And it's like, and that's coming from the co-head, Peter Safran. 2025 is going to be a very big year for DC. Superman and Batman within the same year. Yeah, but you have 2 Batmans now. What are you setting up? It's almost like when they signed on, they're like, yeah, we don't want Pattinson as, like, that must have been a stipulation or condition. It was like, or maybe Gunn just liked it, but that's going to be weird for me. The 2 Batmans thing. And I understand, like, you know, you have shows like Gotham. There's TV shows and there's movies, right? And never should the 2 mix. So I understand if Brave and the Bold was like a TV show, a la Gotham, or like there's another TV show with Lieutenant Gordon, I think. There's a whole bunch of superhero TV shows, but you know, in my mind, I can separate the 2, right? It's like, here's a TV show and then here's a movie, and never should the 2 meet. Although, you know, but this is a movie. Brave and the Bold is a movie, a Batman movie. And then you have another Batman movie. So it's almost like, what do you, I guess they'll cross that bridge when they come to it. But if this Batman sequel comes out and it destroys again and crushes it again, you got a little bit of, champagne problems, but you got a little bit of situation on your hand. Because you're going to have fans demanding that Pattinson is your Batman going forward. And then you have this other DCU Batman. Oof, I don't know. Then you also have the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix. How does that play into everything? I don't know. Maybe The Flash is going to answer a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions, and maybe The Flash just answers them all. Soup to nuts. Booster Gold. This is going to be an HBO Max series on a unique, lesser-known hero created in '86. It's about a loser from the future who uses basic future technology to come back to today and pretend to be a superhero. Gunn described it as imposter syndrome as superhero. I dig it. I like that. I think that's just like, I hope it's a comedy along the lines of Peacemaker. I hope it's a comedy along the lines of Peacemaker, where it's like plenty of action and violence and heavy shit, but like plenty of lighthearted stuff too. Cause that seems like that would be, although I don't know, maybe I hope they go to comedic route, but and knowing Gunn, it just seems like that's the case. Knowing what I've seen from Suicide Squad, Guardians, like there's going to be plenty of humor infused into that. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I don't know why that's funny to me. Taking its cues from the recent Tom King written miniseries, which I'm not familiar with, this movie promises a different take than what most think of when Superman's cousin comes to mind. We will see the difference between Superman, who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents from the time he was an infant, versus Supergirl, raised on a rock, a chip off of Krypton, and who watched everyone around her die and be killed in terrible ways for the first 14 years of her life and then come to Earth. Oh, shit. She is much more hardcore and not the Supergirl we're used to. Yeah. Okay. Can we come up with a better title? Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow does not scream hardcore. They got to come up with a better title. I hope they do. Because you slap Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow out there and people are going to be like, oh my God. I mean, you put on, I don't know what the title would be, but those last two sentences, like they got my hair standing on straight up. So, but Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow does not get the blood pumping. And then the final project, Swamp Thing, a horror film that promises to close out the first part of the first chapter. Okay, Swamp Thing gonna close things out. Okay, interesting that they go Swamp Thing. So it sounds like Justice League, and they're kind of slow playing Justice League. They want to get the first, which makes sense, dude. The fact that they had Batman versus Superman, and we have Wonder Woman joining the fight before we even have the Wonder Woman standalone. I mean, they just messed up the order of the things in the chronology, and probably because someone got panicked and felt pressure, and they're like, we gotta, like, Marvel's smoking us, we gotta get this out now. But even like Justice League being released when it was, we didn't know shit about the Flash or Cyborg. And then they release a version of the movie, the non-Snyder cut, that's like kind of introduces them, but not really. And I just think they really butchered that. But interesting to see, like, there's no mention of Justice League here. But they do realize, like, okay, here are the key ingredients here are the pillars of building this thing to make sure that it's a hit. It's like Batman, Superman, Green Lanterns, Supergirl, and Swamp Thing. Kind of interesting. There's no mention of like Aquaman or the Flash or Cyborg. So, yeah. So like, okay, I don't hate it. I need to go over the list there was a list that I had of some projects that looked kind of promising that are no longer. I wish I had it in front of me, but I remember reviewing it and being like, that sounds kind of cool. So maybe he'll revisit that, but it's just like not on his radar right now. Or maybe he did look at it and was like, no to everything. All right. So that's the phase 1 of the DCU, the new DCU, Gods and Monsters. And then we have Oscar nominations. I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen a ton of movies that are being nominated for Oscars. I've been curious about the Banshees of Inisherin, and then I talked to some buddies, and they were like, and I read like the first line, the critics' consensus or like the audience says portion on Rotten Tomatoes for this movie was like, it's sad and slow. And I was like, oh my God. And then I read the synopsis and I was like, okay. And then I talked to some buddies and they were like, yeah, so this happens. They just like, no spoiler alert. They're like, and this happens. And I was just like, okay, I don't think I need to see this. I think if you didn't tell me and I just decided to take the plunge, maybe I would have watched it from start to finish and I would have liked it. But like the fact that I've had sad and slow thrown out there, it's like, I don't need to get any sadder than I am. I'm pretty emo, pretty goth. So like, I don't know that I need a little more of that in my life. So I don't know that I will ever see it, which is unfortunate. Avatar: The Way of Water. I have like no desire to see Avatar: The Way of Water. I don't know what it is. I guess maybe if my daughter were older and were more aware of like TV commercials and trailers and whatnot, I would be more inclined to see it. But I have no desire. And I mean, I've heard so many good things about like technically special effects, like everything looks real. And I mean, better. I mean, you listen to these interviews with James Cameron, and he's just like the lengths that he's freaking gone to for this franchise. It's like they better get nominated for goddamn awards, all the awards, in that respect. But when it comes to some of the other stuff, it's just like I don't know if I'm really that invested in it. Elvis, I guess from Baz Luhrmann with what's his name, Austin Butler and Tom Hanks. I came close to watching this recently, and I think I will end up watching it before this ceremony, the award show. I've heard the first portion, the first half kind of stinks, but then it picks up in the second half, hopefully. I don't know. It's apparently a long movie. But it's got my interest a little bit. Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is the movie, and I think I did a review of this back when I saw it, back in the spring, maybe summer. I love this movie, and I hope it wins all the awards. It deserves it because it is so ambitious and far-reaching, and at its core, at its heart, it's just a story about family, but it's wrapped in sci-fi, time travel, action. It's just such a great movie, and just great performances all around. The costumes, makeup, set design, like everything is just like amazing. Just to tell this story about this mother, father, and daughter, and a grandfather or grandparent that's visiting. But at its core, it's those three. And and Jamie Lee Curtis also, like her. I don't want to give anything away, but there's a little bit of a multiverse there's not a little bit. There is a multiverse aspect to the movie, and so she's in some of the multiverses, and some of them are pretty goddamn funny. So yeah, I'm really pulling for just any nomination that they have, they should win. I guess if it's not special effects and that crap, because that'll definitely go to Avatar. I don't see Avatar losing any of those, but everything else should go to Everything Everywhere All at Once. Highly recommend. The Fabelmans, I have no interest in seeing. Tar, no interest in seeing. Triangle of Sadness, maybe. I think I read the synopsis of that, and it kind of piqued my interest. Top Gun Maverick, dude. I mean, that was a close second, or maybe even topped. I don't know. It's 1A, 1B with Top Gun Maverick and Everything Everywhere All at Once for top movies of 22. Top Gun Maverick, I didn't even really see the first movie start to finish until right before I saw Top Gun Maverick. And I was like, I understand why this is stood the test of time. Like, this is a good movie, and it gets you in the feels, and it's emotional and it's funny, and it's got a lot of great quotes and whatnot. Top Gun Maverick was just like, from start to finish, a little more serious, not as campy or corny as the first one, but I just, the fact that they put themselves through what top fighter pilots put themselves through, and they meant I just love that there's no CGI, or little to no CGI. It's all practical effects. It's all them actually trying to do this shit. I really appreciate that. I think that went a long way in them getting nominated so many times. All Quiet on the Western Front, I don't know if I'll watch that. Women Talking, I probably will not watch that. No offense. And then some other movies that I did watch that got noms: The Batman, which is great. It's good to see. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which I didn't see it in the theater, and it's hit streaming on Disney Plus February 1st. So by the time this comes out, I will probably watch it. I did have something spoiled in my research for this episode, so I'm a little bummed about that. Be curious to see how they handle the passing of... Come on now. Come on, brain. You got this. You got this. No, you ain't got this. Wow. The old brain just doesn't fire like it used to. It'll come back to me like half an hour later, obviously. He was in 42. Oh my God, dude. That's pathetic. I can say is I'm sorry. And then there were some snubs. I think the biggest snub was RRR. I have not seen RRR. That's on my list of things to watch this weekend as well. I think most people like it. There was one guy that I follow that just hated it, and he caught a lot of flack from the Indian community, the Indian cinematic community. But I've seen, like, on Netflix, I've seen, like, as I'm scrolling through, they kind of autoplay parts of the movie or the trailer, and I'm just like, well, this looks pretty intense. I dig it. So yeah, I'll have to give that a shot. Rotten Tomatoes released their lists of the best movies and TV series, both from critics and from fans of 2022. Best movies of 2022 that I've seen: Top Gun Maverick, Everything Everywhere at Once, Turning Red, that friggin' movie that's an allegory for a period, a girl's period, which my daughter is obsessed with. I decided I'd watch it not knowing it was going to be about period. I just thought it was about a giant panda fox or panda bear, whatever the hell that thing's called. It looks like a fox, but it's actually a bear. Like, a girl turns into that. And I was like, oh, okay, this seems like pretty straightforward. Probably okay for her to watch. And then it was like all about periods and stuff. And I was like, I don't know. But apparently my ex allows her to watch it all the time. So what are you going to do? She also loves the soundtrack and the songs from it, which are all like throwbacks, because the movie takes place in the mid to late 90s, I want to say. Late 90s, when the boy band phenomena was really at its zenith. And so they have a bunch of songs, and she sings along to songs like "Ain't Nobody Like You, Makes My Tummy." Like, I'm just like, I don't know if I'm allowed. Like, are you allowed to listen to these? I don't know, dude. Well, I'm doing so much damage to you. Just the world's doing damage to you. You're just taking hits left and right. Like, maybe this is the least of our worries. The Batman, which feels like it should be higher up. It should be above Turning Red, I'll tell you that much. Prey, which was kind of interesting and exciting, because that's like probably the first Predator movie that we got in a long time that's good and just gets back to, doesn't try to get too crazy with it. It's like pretty straightforward action, but tells a great story. You know, I think that's what that's exactly. I know that's what's been missing from a lot of the Predator movies, is like somewhat of a story. Like, we can't all be Arnold Schwarzenegger and you know, so you got to tell a good story, and they did. It's the best one since, I guess, would be Predators in 2010 with Adrian Brody. Is that his name? Number 6, Northman, which I liked a lot. I did. Pretty brutal, pretty savage. And there was only like one or two parts where I was like, that doesn't seem like that seems like a plot hole. It doesn't seem like that would work. And then I'm also always thrown off by Skarsgård's chemistry with Nicole Kidman. Like, I don't know how their significant others feel about that. Because every time those two are on screen, they're boning. Like, you know, spoiler alert. Like, I think Nicole Kidman is like his mom, Skarsgård's mom, in this movie, and then I think they bone. Spoiler alert. X is the next one that I saw on the best movies list, and I highly recommend it. Horror movie, bunch of ragtag crew of production, adult film production crew and cast go to a remote cabin that's located near a farmhouse occupied by an older man and woman, and hijinks ensue. But yeah, I thought that was but yet, as much as I liked X, I don't feel the need to watch Pearl, but I should, right? Like, I heard Mia Goth, who is in X, is also in Pearl, and she gives a good performance, but I've heard that other than her, it's not really at the same level as X. And then the last one on the best movies list that I've seen, I think there was only 10. Maybe there was 30. No, there was like 30 some odd movies on that list. My apologies, but there's only been 8 that I've seen. My bad. Last one that I saw was Emily the Criminal. This was a movie that I was in a weird headspace, and so I started it, and I watched probably half of it, maybe. a little more than half, and I just turned it off. I was like, I don't know if I want to. This seems like I got all righteous for no reason. I was just like, so I had student loan debt and it was crushing me. And this woman has student loan debt and it's crushing her. And she sees an opportunity to make a lot of money, and it's via like credit card fraud. And then she kind of takes to it and runs with it, finds herself in more deeper, worse trouble. And I was like, I don't know if I can really invest any more in this. I don't know why, because there's been plenty of movies where it's like, I mean, I don't know why Blow comes to mind, but Blow or War Dogs, where it's like guys that are kind of down on their luck or looking to hit it big, and they land in something nefarious and they fall in love with it, and they get it's all that whole sequence of events where they get super successful, and then they hit a wall and they run into a major obstacle, and then like them trying to like escape with their lives. Emily the Criminal is more, not a huge budget movie. There's not even a soundtrack. I don't think it's very, just real natural sounds, soundscape. But the more like I decided, I was like, all right, I need to finish it because I've heard so many good things. And I like Aubrey Plaza, Evil Hag. And so I did. And I was like, okay, this is a good movie because it shows just I wasn't crazy about the ending, but I do think it makes sense. I understand it because I don't want to give it away, but I will just say like her pushing through all this shit and like not backing down, not giving in, not surrendering, not throwing in the towel. It was just cool to watch. It was impressive and cool to watch because, I don't know that we've had many movies like that where it's a woman just like, I'm sure there have been, but I can't name any off the top of my head, where it's like meeting such, especially a woman that's not a superhero, not a boxer, not an athlete, just a woman who's trying to pay off her student loan debt from an art school, who, it's not like she, it's just her refusing to back down. And she was given plenty of chances to just say, fuck this, I'm walking away. Like, I just don't, it's not worth it. Like what I'm encountering is like, I'm putting my life in danger, blah, blah. But for her to like fight back to the level that she did, and seeing it was just like, just really cool. So, but that first half was a little like, okay. Although the scene where she has to at the car dealership, I think that's what was like made me kind of come back to it. So I was thinking about it more and more. I was like, why did I turn it off? Why didn't I give it more of a chance? And then that car dealership scene kind of popped up in my head, and I was like, okay, I got to see how this plays out. So yeah, Emily the Criminal, recommend. Not really a high recommend, but I recommend it. There's nothing else going on. Best TV series, as voted, as I guess rated by critics for 2022, House of the Dragon. These are 7 that I saw. House of the Dragon, hell yeah. Andor, hell yeah. The Boys, hell yeah. She-Hulk, meh. Severance, which I think needs to be higher on that list, higher than She-Hulk for sure. Station 11, which is kind of interesting. I didn't think that would make the cut, but I was weirdly obsessed with that series when it was on. It's a limited series. It's on HBO Max. It's about there's some kind of virus that takes out like pretty much the entire population, and this girl ends up just by random occurrence ending up with this dude, and they end up staying with each other first in Chicago, all holed up in the apartment, and they run through all their rations, and then they got to go venture out into the world, and tells the stories of it skips time, jumps time too. I guess it's a little bit of a spoiler, but just talking about the interesting post-apocalyptic show or program, because it felt very based in reality. Like, okay, there are communities, and some of these communities are like thriving. and they're doing all right. But then there are some people that are kind of really dialed into this one philosophy or track, and they try to upset the cart, I guess, the apple cart. But is there a ton of action? There's more like it definitely bounces back and forth from present, which is really set in the future, and then the past, which is when the virus, broke out and did all its damage. I do feel like it's not as fulfilling as I would have liked. I was just slightly disappointed in the ending, where it was like, man, this is kind of like, okay, cool. But I would have liked to, I don't know, I would have liked a little more closure around everything. And I don't think I really got it. I will say that. And then the last of the series, best TV series of 2022 that I saw was Russian Doll, which I I saw on Netflix and I kept putting it off. And I was like, I don't know if I want this. And then I watched it and I binged the entire series in like a night or a day or two. It's just like, it's pretty good. Season 2, I don't know if I finished season 2 yet. Season 2 kind of got off, it's kind of all over the place a little bit. And I think that's where I lost interest. I was like, I think it's just maybe losing focus, or like it's kind of all over the place and I don't know where this is headed. And so I kind of maybe gave up on it. Although I don't know if I finished it. I think I did finish it. So fan favorite movies of 2022 that I either have seen or haven't seen yet. First is RRR, which is, I gotta watch that this weekend. Top Gun Maverick, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Batman, Avatar, Way of Water, which I don't know that I'll ever see that. I mean, I guess I should see it in theaters in 3D as it's meant to be seen, but maybe I'll just wait for the re-release. They have to re-release it for the next movie, right? Because the next movie's coming out next year or 2 years from now or something like that. And then fan favorite TV series of 2022 that I've seen, Stranger Things and House of the Dragon. I think there were only like 7 or 10, 5 shows maybe on that list, but Stranger Things and House of the Dragon. Whew. And we have to wait so long for both of those to come back. So Groundhog Day is coming up this week. So I thought I'd run down the list of Groundhog Day movies. I guess you could say best Groundhog Day movies or top Groundhog Day movies. These are mostly the movies that I have seen. I mean, there's a ton. There's all kinds of time loop movies dating back to like the 60s that I don't think I've seen pretty much any of the movies prior to Groundhog Day in 93. Obviously, that's the number one spot, spoiler alert, but we don't need to like beat around the bush there. It's the best one. It's the top one. But so these are the movies that, and I guess I'm going to go in chronological order because they really picked up in the 2000s. It's like, especially after 2010, I think, from 2014 to 2020, at 21, there was a stretch in like 2017 and 2016 where it felt like every other movie was a time loop movie. But 2011's Source Code, U.S. Army aviation pilot Captain Coulter Stevens repeatedly experiences the last 8 minutes of another person's life to identify the bomber in a terrorist attack in order to prevent a second nuclear attack on Chicago. This had Jake Gyllenhaal as the Captain Coulter Stevens. I remember liking this movie a lot when I first saw it, I think in 2011 or 2012. I remember certain bits and pieces of it, but in terms of like dialogue, how it ended, I think I remember how it ended, but I it's a good movie. I remember it being a good movie. It's just like, has it stuck with me throughout the years? Worth a rewatch? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I should be stuck in a time loop watching that friggin' movie. Next one was Premature. Came out in 2014. Rob, a high school senior, has to relive losing his virginity over and over until he gets it right with the right girl. I think I saw this on a free trial of Showtime. And I was like, this is I guess an interesting twist. And then I saw it and I was like I wasn't as impressed. There was a great performance from the guy who played Steve the Pirate on Dodgeball, the Dodgeball movie. Oh, what's his name? Oh, God. He's like in that Resident Alien TV show. he's been in a bunch of things, and he's always so awesome. He's such a great actor, and I can't believe I don't remember his name. But he played Steve the Pirate in the Dodgeball movie, and he had a great performance in this movie, I thought. I mean, that's the only thing that really stuck out to me about that movie. So, I mean, I guess you could pass on that if you're doing if you were to do a Groundhog Day movie marathon on Groundhog Day, maybe leave that one out. The next one is Edge of Tomorrow, aka Live, Die, Repeat, came out in that same year, 2014. Major Bill Cage, played by Tom Cruise, and Special Forces soldier Rita Vertasky, played by Emily Blunt, team up to fight a hostile alien race known as the Mimics, with Cage continually returning to a repeating battle through a time loop. I mean, and I know, and it's as weird, this is the first thing I go to, but I can't help it, dude. It's just, I'm a dude, and I like the ladies. So that Emily Blunt in Edge of Tomorrow, whoa, dude. Like, you want to talk about just a physical specimen, and she's talked about this on Smartless. I remember her interview on Smartless talking about like the training that she had to go through, and just she cried on set, and Tom Cruise was like, just stop crying, suck it up, come on, let's go, like, stop being such a crybaby, because he was suffering so many freaking injuries on that movie set, because she wanted to do a lot of because I mean, Cruise does all his own stunts apparently, and so she wanted to kind of, I guess, keep up with him or try and do that as well, and she ended up suffering a bunch of injuries. I want to say cracked ribs, which I've never had, but I heard it just sucks. But her doing that push-up thing where she's on the ground and then she does it's like almost like a yoga move where she pushes herself up. I don't know. I can't really think of another female action star. I mean, yeah, you have Ripley in Aliens, right? Sigourney Weaver looking awesome, looking great. But in terms of and I guess, what's her name? Not Kate Winslet. No, not Kate Winslet. Idiot. I forget her name, but she was in that movie Kate on Netflix. And she looked like pretty badass. But I mean, Emily Blunt in this movie looks as badass as it gets. Highly recommend. This one I forgot about. I have actually seen it, but I didn't realize it was a time loop movie. I completely spaced on that. But The Final Girls came out in 2015. Has Thomas Middleditch and Swedish lady who I was obsessed with for a good. I'm still a little obsessed with her. Maya Angelou. Nope, definitely not that. Definitely not that her name. That's gonna kill me. I have to. Yeah. Malin Ackerman. Wow. Adam Devine, Nina Dobrev, Alia Shawkat, who played what's her name in Arrested Development. Yeah. All right. Why can't I remember this guy? Wakanda. I gotta remember this dude's name. This is friggin' killing me. How did I forget his name already? Don Cheadle. No. So stupid. Chadwick Boseman. I was never gonna get there. Never gonna get there. Chadwick Boseman. R.I.P. Wow. Rest in power. So Final Girls. Yeah. Underrated movie. It's about a group of friends that find themselves trapped in an 80s horror movie that restarts every 92 minutes. It's such a good movie. Highly underrated. I don't even know if I think it did get a theatrical release. Maybe not. Maybe it was straight to streaming, but 2015 doesn't feel like a straight to streaming movie. I loved it a lot. I thought it was great. So definitely pop that on when you get the chance. Thanks so much. Arq, ARQ. This came out in 2016. This was I don't think this got made it to theaters, but this is one of those Netflix movies that I stumbled upon. It's about an engineer whose invention causes time to loop during a home invasion as he attempts to save his former lover while learning who has targeted him and why. So again, I've seen so many goddamn movies, and we've already established that my brain is mashed potatoes. So I kind of forget how this movie ends, but I do remember it being, like, for what it's worth, which a very low budget movie. Very low budget movie. I think it's only like one location. Could be wrong about that, but it only feels like it's like very contained movie, almost like that Buried Alive movie with Ryan Reynolds, like very like one location contained. And you'd think to yourself, oh, one location contained, that's got to be boring as shit. And it's like, no, it's actually pulled it off. I think it's the guy who's in another Netflix movie, and he was also in that. Yeah, I know exactly who I'm thinking of, and I can't tell you because I don't remember. This is riveting shit. Happy Death Day 2017. I like avoided this movie for a long time because I don't like Scream. Like my former sister-in-law, obsessed with the Scream franchise, and I think I saw Scream 1 and maybe Scream 2, and I was like, all right, I get it. I don't need to see knives entering bodies multiple times. I don't know. I can see people getting shot left and right, but like the stabbing really just I can't handle it. The stabbing. Like there was some, I think I've said this a million times. There was a Fox show, and like the opening scene was they're on a subway train and a guy comes with a knife and just starts stabbing everyone. I was just like, I'm out. A snobby young woman is murdered on her birthday, Monday the 18th. She wakes up the morning of the 18th alive, facing the same day over and over while also getting weaker. I don't remember that plot point, but they also came out with Happy Death Day to You in 2019, which was also a pretty decent movie. Immediately after the events of the first film, our protagonist unexpectedly re-enters the time loop and becomes determined to escape it after finding out her friends are now involved. So I recommend watching those back to back. It'd be weird if they released a third one, but I'd probably watch it. But after 2017's Happy Death Day, there's Before I Fall in 2017. A popular high school senior finds herself reliving the same day over and over. I watched this with the ex, and we're probably not the target audience for that, to be honest. I mean, it still was entertaining. I watched it from start to finish, and I didn't hate it. So I guess, you know, if you have like a high school aged daughter, you'd probably want to be like, hey, you want to like spend a little QT watching this movie? The Endless. This is a good one. 2017, two brothers return to a cult that is stuck in a time loop. And this is part of a universe. And I can't remember what the other names of the movies are. Jesus. Memory, where have you gone? But I would recommend this more so than a lot of the other movies on this. It's right up there. It's like right along the lines of Ark, right? Kind of low budget. I'd say probably a bigger budget than Ark. But yeah, The Endless. I remember that being pretty legit and pretty cool. And then 2020 of Palm Springs. That's where Carefree Niles, played by Andy Samberg. And reluctant maid of honor Sarah have a chance encounter at a Palm Springs wedding. Things get complicated the next morning when they find themselves unable to escape the venue themselves or each other. So Sarah is played by a woman who was in Black Mirror. She also has like a Prime Video series, or maybe it's Apple TV, and she feels like she's almost everywhere. Still don't remember her name. Fantastic. And then 2021, Boss Level. A retired Special Forces officer is trapped in a time loop on the day of his death, which was good, but borderline could have been bad. I'll say that. Rob Gronkowski makes an appearance. He has a cameo at the beginning of the movie, which is pretty funny. And it's by the guy who played Crossbones in the Marvel Universe. And I guess he was also the Punisher for a hot minute, or for the TV series, maybe. Frank Gallo. Nope, that's not it. Oh, boy. No, it's not that guy. Oh, boy. I was wrong about that. Yikes. Frank Grillo. It was close. Whatever, dude. Sue me. So, yeah. There's a list of Groundhog movies that you should check out on Groundhog Day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's talk a little bit about life. I had my daughter this weekend, so we went to the Cheesecake Factory. It's the first time that I've gone to the Cheesecake Factory with her. The last time I went to the Cheesecake Factory, I think there was one, I forget. We went, the ex and I went with her best friend, and I think it was right around our wedding. So it was like, we're trying to like eat right and work out. And we went to the Cheesecake Factory for some reason. I was like, why did we do this? This is like the worst possible place to be. I mean, they list the calorie counts, and all the calorie counts are in the thousands. It's like they're all so close to 2,000 calories. that even their Skinny-licious menu that they have is like, well, these don't look healthy either. They're just like smaller portions. They don't have any hard seltzers, which is kind of like, it's 2023. Let's go. Let's get on that. Come on, Cheesecake. Let's do this thing. Hard seltzers are a thing. And the guy was like, well, you can have a hard cider. I was like, yeah, but I'm not apple picking and it's not fall. No, on the hard cider. So I went the Tito's and Club. And they sat me across from Brie like we were on a date. Like, it is a date. It's a daddy-daughter date. I get it. She always likes to sit next to me. We usually go someplace where there's a booth, and then we sit on the same side of the booth. This was just like, there's a table, a chair, and then the booth. And so like I'm sitting across from her and she's like, you're so far away from me. I'm like, this is awkward. Like, we have a foreign couple, I don't know if they were Greek or what, sitting on one side of us, where like the woman had to wait for like a good half an hour before this dude showed up. And then this dude showed up and was just demanding things, and like it felt like it was not very being romantic with her at all. It was just very like, what was it called? Taciturn? No, that's not the word. But and then the other side of us were these two either college students or recent college grads, and they were just, talking about how hard it is to be 23. So our waiter kind of stunk. Borderline sucked. And I used to be a waiter, so I'm sympathetic to what he's going through. Probably busy, probably understaffed. But it's tough when I'm sitting there and I see like every other server pass by us. And like, I'm just like, where is ours? We need our guy. So that was a bit unfortunate, because it was like, I'd like to drink more booze, please. And then he dropped the check off and he charged us for like items that he never brought. It's just like, well, all right, I'm going to dock you. You get a couple demerits for that, for sure. And, I wanted to get her like ice cream, and he just like never came around to get it, and like apple juice, and I wanted another drink, and then maybe a cheesecake. Like, it was just like, and it just, as the minutes went by, I was just like, well, that's off. So Cheesecake Factory, dude. It's popular as fuck. I cannot believe how popular it was. Like, we had to wait for a table. I can't remember the last time we had to wait for a table. It just seems like every restaurant we go to, you pretty much can just, like where we are in our area, you just walk in and get seated immediately. Like, there's no waits anymore. But we actually had to wait for this one, which I thought was interesting. It was like, Cheesecake Factory, huh? I never thought it was that popular, but I guess people love it. I mean, the menus are insane. They give you like 15 menus too. It's just like, I don't need all this crap, dude. But the Skinnylicious menu is such a farce. It's just such a joke. Like, what is skinny about this? You look at it and you're like, okay, this is, and everything's like over $10. And you're like, am I going to be full from this? I ended up ordering. So she got the sliders and fries, which I don't know why restaurants do this with the sliders, with the 2 cheeseburgers. Like, can I just have the 1 small cheeseburger? Why are we doing the 2? They're not even like small. Like, when I think of a slider, I think of like White Castle slider. Like, it's like literally maybe half of my palm. Like, it's just a little square type thing. These sliders that they're giving the kids are not that size. They're like twice that size. Like, as an adult, I don't think an adult could finish that. And yet they're calling them sliders and they're giving them to kids. Like, what, why? And sliders are like such an adult fascination. Like, kids don't give a fuck about sliders. Like, just give me a cheeseburger and french fries. I don't know, rant over. And then, so I got dynamite shrimp and like chicken taquitos, which when you think of a taquito, you think it looks like a long kind of flute type situation. And these were like little stubby guys, like almost like pizza bites or Totino's pizza rolls. So I kind of regretted my choice, but whatever. I powered through it. pretty good stuff, but it was just like I ended up paying, $20 for 2 meals. That it's like I don't know that yeah. So I don't know that I'm going to be going back to Cheesecake Factory anytime soon. But we did get a celebration cheesecake because it's rainbow colored, and she's obsessed with rainbow cake, my daughter. So I was like, all right, well, they have this celebration cheesecake. Now, as a reminder, this is not like cake, the cake you're used to, like the rainbow cake that you get at the other place. This is a cheesecake, slightly different. And she's like, rainbow cake. And I'm like, all right. So we come back, get it to go, come back. And she like puts her fork into it and takes a taste and like is like, no, I don't want it. It's just like, hey, I got this huge log of a cheesecake that now I have to like, and I hate wasting food. So I can't, like, I feel like I just can't. Like I can't. I don't want to throw it out. So I'm going to try and save it. And I'm just going to chip away. With all these like treats that I have, it's like, that's the only thing I'm going to do is like a little bite here today and a little bite tomorrow and a little bite that. And like eventually it's going to like disappear and I won't have gained 5 pounds. The next day we ended up going to a birthday party for a kid that is a year that I guess is now the same age as Bree, my daughter, but like is a class below her. So I thought that was kind of weird. Like, all right, well, they don't really interact at school that much, but apparently he's got a sister that maybe hangs out with her sometimes. I don't think they're in the same class. And the only reason we got invited is because she went to another birthday party and I guess the parents were there and talked to my ex, and my ex was like, yes, of course we'll go. And it's just like, oh, thanks for that. I appreciate that. Just saying yes without running it by me. I appreciate that. So it was at this place called Bounce U, which I went there before for another birthday party last year. There was like the first birthday party that I've been to in this area with the new school. And I gotta tell you, I'm not a fan. And I appreciate the invite. I'm very grateful for us being invited and going there. But Bounce U, they just got to do something about the scenery. Like just there's 2 big rooms and then 2 small rooms. So like the Sky Zone place we went to in Hamilton, it's got like that trampolines. It's like huge. It's got a lot of stuff, arcade games, like 3 or 4 big party rooms. Like it's just big and expansive and like there's plenty to do and it's a lot to do. Like this Bounce U place, smaller, still a warehouse, but smaller. And like there's like 2 or 3 arcade games and there's 2 big rooms and there's like 1 or 2 smaller party rooms that are definitely not big enough to hold everyone in these parties. And you go into these big rooms where there's all these inflatable type things, but there's like 1, 2, 3 inflatable things in the one room. And then there's maybe 1 or 2, 3 inflatable things in the other room, and you rotate. So you spend like, I guess, half an hour in this room, and then you half an hour in that room, and then you go and you eat. And the inflatables are fine, I guess, but it's the room they're in it just feels very like this is where hostages are held. Like it feels like this is like the climax of the movie where it's like this is where the boss hangs out and his crew. Like this, like exposed bricks and pipes, and like it just looks, and the lighting is bad, and it's just honestly looks like a hostage situation with inflatable things in it, in a room, like a big giant room, inflatables, and then the rest looks like, okay, is this where people are taken to be tortured? Like it just, why not throw up like giant curtains or some kind of decorations to cover this very like ugly looking walls in both the rooms, both the big rooms. And it's just like there are no windows, there's no natural light. And it's just, I remember the first party went to Bounce U. It was like, I entered, I guess we were late, and I entered and it was just dark. Like, and they decided to put on like not lasers, but like a disco light or whatever the hell I call it, strobe lights, and like glow in the dark. And it was just like, okay, I don't know how I'm supposed to talk to parents and all this like madness. They didn't do it this time, which I appreciated, but at the same time, it's like, I understand why they did it in the dark last time. Because like you put the lights on, it's like, ugh. oh, this hurts my eyes. So, and then they have these party rooms that are just like, I was so claustrophobic last year because it was like I think we're all wearing masks, maybe not. I can't remember. Maybe we weren't wearing masks, but it was just like a lot of people crammed into a very tiny spot. And the employees are all very young. Like I saw maybe one adult. And of course, she talked to me as if I were one of her teen employees. And I was like, love that about you. Love that you're treating me like that. Love it. Like we walked in and the first, I mean, this kid I thought he was like 12 and he had both ears pierced and it was like trying to tell us what to do. But it was like in that kind of awkward preteen, tween, teen way where like he's trying to be authoritative and dictate what's going on. But you can tell like he's hesitant and like a little scared about it. And then there's another taller kid who like was kind of directing the show. And like he would have to raise his voice to get everyone's attention, to get them to move from room to room or say it's time to go to get lunch. But he was always like looking down audio is not going to do us any justice, but on the video you might be able to see it. Like he just kept on like looking down and not making eye contact. He was like, all right, party goers, it's time to go to the next room, gather your things and make a line by and I was just like, all right, hey, buddy, let's pick up the eyes. Let's make some eye contact. You know, it seems like you're, it just seems like you're kidnapper / abductor / serial killer / like you look like you might have some bad intentions with the head down and the lack of eye contact. And, you know, it's just so awkward. And like there was one other employee in the party room and it was like she couldn't have given any less F's about what was going on. And like the guy was telling her what to do and she was just like, okay. And then she wouldn't do it or she would like half-ass it. And I was just like, how is this place still in business? I guess it's like, it must be the cheapest option. You know, it's like there's a reason why you know, it's like, okay, Sky Zone, I guess, is like the cream of the crop or whatever. And then you have like another whatever in the middle tier. And this is like the low affordable tier. And that's not a knock on the parents that booked it. I was just saying like, it just gives me and this is me personally. I don't know if anyone else felt this way. Probably not. But it just gives me icky vibes. The restroom also was kind of a disaster. We had to, like, I think I had to go use it, and I ended up like not noticing I was just stepping in some kind of pool of liquid as I was evacuating the dance floor, and then Bree had to go, and we go in, and there's a guy taking a dump in the one stall, and it's like, all right, well, and so we kind of, she's like, well, there's someone in there. I was like, yep, you just kind of wait. And I was like, well, you know, are you a big girl? Do you think you can go in the girls' room by yourself if I wait outside? And the guy's like, I'll be done in a minute. I was just like, I'm not trying to rush you, dude. But we got a 4-year-old who I am impressed with Bree's, my daughter's bladder control. I think, you know, she's never wet the bed. I don't think. If she has, she's hidden it pretty well. And yeah, I'm just so impressed with her bladder control. The ability to hold it too is just like pretty impressive. Yeah, so that was the birthday party. You know, it lasted maybe 2 hours. You know, I remember, you know, we went to Target beforehand to pick up the gift and the card and some wrapping paper. And this is how screwed my back is. Like you'd think like, all right, I hurt my back and it gets back to normal. It's healed. I don't think it's ever going to be where it was. Like it's never going to be 100% healthy again. I was in the parking lot of Target with the door open, trying to wrap this gift for this kid. It's just ever so slightly bent at the waist, not even full 90 degrees, not even 45 degrees, like maybe in between 0 and 45 degrees was the bend. And my back was just like, nah, I don't want to do this. I'm okay, thanks. I'm going to pass on this activity. Like it just got like, I don't know how to describe it. I guess weak, but it just starts to, is it seizing up? I don't know. It just felt really friggin' off. So that's going to be an issue for the rest of my goddamn life. And maybe I shouldn't have done all those leg drops. Call back. Sunday we took down the tree, or I took down the tree while Bree pretended to play other things because she just viewed it as a chore that she didn't want to partake in. And part of me was sad, but man, does it open up space. I'm so tight on space in this friggin' apartment that when I took out the Christmas tree, it was like a whole new world. She's like, what are we gonna do with it? And she turned it, like Bree, my daughter, turned into like John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell from Step Brothers. Like, what are we gonna do with it? Oh, there's so much room for activities. What are we gonna do with all this new room? Bunk beds? Yeah. I watched the Niners versus Eagles, and then Brock Purdy got hurt, and basically all my bets went out the window. I can't stand watching the Eagles succeed, and I have a feeling they're going to win the friggin' Super Bowl again, which is going to be so brutal for the next, I don't know how many year to possibly, I don't know how many years. My only hope is like this is like as bad as it gets, because like this, like they're not going to be as good as they're not going to be as good this year, next year, right? That's all I'm like hoping for. And then I was so like bummed out that the Eagles won that I watched like the first half of the Bengals Chiefs, and I just didn't watch most of the second half. I ended up watching Last of Us instead. But my daughter is struggling right now. She is like a lot of crying in bed, and I don't know if I'm handling it the right way. Like, she asks me every day that she's here, can I sleep in your bed? Can I sleep in your bed? And I say, well, you can sleep in my bed one night, and that's a special treat. And it's because you've been a good girl and you're making green choices. You can't sleep in my bed every night, even though apparently she sleeps in her mother's bed every night. And it's like, I haven't read enough studies to determine whether or not that's healthy or not. Is that detrimental? Is that good? Like, I know Alicia Silverstone still sleeps with her 12-year-old boy or something like that. It's like, I talked to my buddy, one of my college buddies. He was like, I love when my 5-year-old sleeps with us, and my wife hates it. And it's just like, I guess it just, it's split down the middle. But I am of the thinking that it's better for her to sleep in her own bed. But every night she asks me, can I sleep in your bed? Can I sleep in your bed? I said no. And then she's just like, cries her bed. I just hear her crying in her bed. I want mommy. I want mommy. I miss mommy. And we had another like pretty tough conversation, a couple of tough conversations where it's like, I'm going to be as honest as possible. We're in this position because of your mother. And I know there's like I'm contractually obligated not to talk smack about my ex. Foster love and respect. Like, that's a friggin' clause in my agreement, my marital settlement agreement, divorce agreement. And it's kind of like up into interpretation, because it's like, if I tell it how it is, does that mean I'm not fostering love and respect? Like, I'm just saying, like, I love you, my daughter, and your mother loves you, but we don't love each other. Is that not fostering love? Is that not fostering respect? Are we in this position because of her decision? Yes. Is that not fostering love and respect? I don't know. So maybe this is like, can be submitted as criminal evidence against me, but I just have to be honest. That's the situation. But I just kept reminding her, like, we both love you, and that'll never change. Never change. So, but I can hear her crying in her bed from my bedroom, which is like, it's a pretty serious cry when I can hear it from my bedroom, because we're not close. The bedrooms are not close. So, and she gets upset, and she's like, but I'm going to have a bad dream. Like, if I can't sleep in your bed, I'm going to have a bad dream. And I'm just like, okay, well, let me just say that if you eat late, like sweets and whatnot, you're more likely to have a bad dream. So let's not eat so close to your bedtime. And that's why we take a bath, and that's why we read a book, and that's why we sing songs, is to relax you and to get you into a relaxed mood so that you are less likely to have a bad dream. But she was just like in tears, like, I'm going to have a bad dream. I'm going to have a bad dream. And I was like, the more you say it to yourself, the more likely you're going to have a bad dream. why don't you do this? Why don't you say, I'm going to have a good dream. I'm going to have a good dream. And she refused to say it. And I was just like, oh my God, you're 4. Like you can't just say, I'm going to have a good dream. You can't physically bring yourself to say that. Wow. And then I was like, how about this? If you do have a bad dream, you take deep breaths. We'll say like 10 deep breaths. You count to 10 and then you say, it's only a dream. It's not real. I'm okay. And I must have repeated that to her a dozen times because she kept asking me, I forget, what am I supposed to do? And I would say it the same way every time. She'd be like, okay. And then sure enough, she still had the bad dream and came and slept next to me. And I said, so after you had the bad dream, what'd you do? Did you remember what to do? She goes, oh no, I just came in your room. I was just like, all right, cool. It's like, she's going through a lot. She's got a lot on her brain, got a lot on her mind. It's a lot to accept. And what sucks is like, she's 4. She's not retaining any of this bullshit. I mean, maybe to a certain degree, but like, it's not exactly steel trap territory, which is odd because her memory is steel trap-ish in certain respects. Like she'll bring up something from months ago and I'll be like, you remember that, huh? But you can't remember to breathe, count, and reassure. Okay, got it. So, yeah, it's just the past couple of weeks have been brutal. It's really taking a toll on her, where she really does miss her mommy and wants her mommy, and the thought crossed my mind, like, should I just fucking give up custody and so her mom has full custody because she's so like miserable here? I mean, she's not miserable. She definitely has fun. I've seen her laugh and have fun here. But at night, it's just like she just wants to sleep in my bed. And if she doesn't, she gets very sad and then starts to cry. And then she wants her mommy. It's just like, all right. Oof. So the finer points of divorce, just like not really sticking with her. And I don't know that they will until maybe age 6 or 7. Maybe it'll start to like become a little clearer for her, but it's just, it's tough. It's tough. So, yeah. But so I kind of skipped Bengals Chiefs in favor of Last of Us. I'm not going to do a lengthy review or anything, but I this last episode 3, Bill and Frank with Nick Offerman and what's his name? The guy who played Armando on The White Lotus season 1, who's a friggin' cool actor, man. He's a good actor. That was I was not expecting that because I kept seeing, I mean, every episode has been awesome so far. I don't even know how you rank the episodes, but every episode has gripped me and has not let me go. Big twist in episode 2, which I won't reveal if you haven't seen it yet, but I just like the way that they're telling these stories. I mean, I saw a tweet from Roan from Barcelona. It was like, you've seen one zombie movie or show, you've seen them all. And it's like, okay, but this is a different take on zombie, quote unquote, because it's not, I guess it's still a zombie type entertainment, but it's, I don't think we've ever seen it done this way. And even the explanation that Joel, played by Pedro Pascal, gives in episode 3 about the origins, I don't know if I truly believe that. And I'm wondering if that just can't be it. It's like too simple, but it's simple, but also, very horrifying because it's like, oh, that can happen. That's a thing. Oh, cool. So, but I was not expecting what we got in episode 3. I knew Bill and Frank were coming. Like that was going to be episode 3 and it was going to focus on that. But I did not think it was going to go in this whole backstory and be such a heart wrencher and a tearjerker, to be honest. It's like, where do they go from here? They've done such a phenomenal job of setting up everything, of the dread of leading up to the inciting event, the extinction level event type thing, but also, things moving forward, both like their ability to play with, you move through time, but yet no matter where you move in time, it's like that feeling of dread and terror still lingers with you and stays with you. highly recommend. There's now talk about like what other video game I never played the video game. I kind of want to play the video game now, but I also don't, because it's like, is that going to give away a lot of what happens in this series? I've been thinking about just getting back into video games in general, because it's like I don't got shit to do. I'm not going on dates. It's just like I've kind of given up on dating. I'm just trying to be productive as possible and failing pretty much. But yeah, so but I've seen Red Dead Redemption being tossed around as like, that would be what video game adaptation should HBO Max tackle next, and Red Dead Redemption came up, and I thought that was a cool idea. Although I wonder if that's too close to, I never played that either, but I know it's a popular as hell game. But I'm wondering if it's too close to Westworld in a way. Like, are we still feeling, the aftershock of Westworld? And would people be like, because they've already think they've got something with Westworld and, whatever. But I think that would be cool. Nick Offerman, though, I have the feeling that he must win. I don't know what award he could win, but I feel like he could win an award for his performance in episode 3. I mean, the guy, the actor who plays Armando in White Lotus, I should really remember, get to know his name. Names, not great with. Faces, amazing. Names, not so much. Sorry. But I feel like that could win some awards. And the actress who plays the girl, she's like, child actors are kind of hit or miss. Like, they can be really super annoying and distract from the story in the movie, which is what you want to hear from a dad, obviously. But I think she's nailing it as well. The dynamic with her and Joel is really good, really on par. And so very interested to see what comes next. They showed like a brief preview teaser at the end of the episode, and it's like, okay, that's where they're going with this. This is very cool. And then finally I wrap it up with Alice in Borderland. This is a Japanese TV series, Netflix only. So I watch it with English dub. Is that how you say it? Dubbed. It's dubbed in English, and then it has English subtitles. And I was very like, I think there's a weird lost in translation thing with Alice in Borderland, because I know it's supposed to be a play on Alice in Wonderland, and it has eventually gotten to that section where, I just finished season 1, so I don't know about season 2, but season 1, it's like, why is this called Alice in Borderland? But then you start to see, okay, there's like these cards, and there's a character named Hatter, and it's like, okay, like I can see the similarities or the parallels, but there's no character named Alice, unless I'm missing something. I don't think there's a character named Alice. And like Borderland is also interesting because like, what do you mean Borderland? They're in Tokyo. Is that a Borderland? I remember there was a video game named Borderlands that was pretty nuts. It had like that. I think it had that graphic of the dude who looked like a Tusken Raider or whatever, or like a character in Mad Max with like making a finger gun gesture on the side of his head, but like the other side, it was like his brain's blowing out. I think it was called Borderlands, right? They've made a couple of those. So I don't know, but very intense. So Squid Game came out last year, right? Very much like Squid Game, but this came out before Squid Game. Squid Game. So does Squid Game games, should they attribute their success to this Alice in Borderland series, which follows bunch of like recent college grads, I want to say early mid 20s, high school buddies from high school who get together. Like Arisu is the main character. He's a gamer, but doesn't have a job. He's kind of like a slacker, lives off his dad, and his brother's like more successful, and they're both like, you stink, like you don't do anything for this family, you should probably like leave. And so he does, He meets up with his two friends, one who, Karube, who's a bartender at a bar, who's like hooking up with the bar owner's girlfriend and was going to propose to her. But apparently Karube is very good at fighting. Tall dude, bleached hair. And then Chota is like their other friend who works like a boring desk job, 9-to-5 office job, and is like, I think his parents keep asking him for money. Someone just keeps asking him for money, and he's like refusing to give money out because he's like, he needs the money for himself to live. But they get together, and then they end up going into the subway, into a bathroom. I forget why. And then all of a sudden they come out, and like the entire city of Tokyo, Japan, is just like empty, barren. There's no one. And so they end up participating in these games where all the electricity has gone out, but they have these phones. I don't know how the phones are powered. And the phones like tell them instructions, and they give them like a countdown and all that stuff. So pretty intense, pretty violent. And I finished season 1, and I don't know that I got, I hope you're not disappointed by not getting a lot of answers. I mean, the big questions are, who's controlling these games? How did this happen? Why is it happening? Who's the game master? Who are these dealers? Things of that nature. You don't really get a ton of answers at the end of season 1, but it's like, well, that's why they got a season 2. So I'm looking forward to season 2. But I will say there are a couple things that stuck out to me. There's the special effects on the animals is pretty brutal. It's pretty brutal. I'm so sorry. No offense. I don't know how I would create a tiger either, but like it's pretty brutal. But there's a couple of moments with the animals where it's like, there's one badass moment with this one guy who has tattoos and a katana sword, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's freaking cool. But then there was another one where like I don't think this is spoiling anything. The tiger jumps out at a guy and he punches it in the face, and it flies like he punched it like and sent it flying. Now, these are not like these are normal human beings. They're not like superheroes or anything like that. Tiger, how much do tigers weigh? 800, 900, whatever pounds, diving at this human, and the human just winds up and clocks it in the jaw and sends it flying. I don't know about that. That really stuck out to me. And then the other thing that stuck out to me is like everyone's skinny. Everyone, like the fattest dude in this series is still skinnier than me. I guess that's not saying much. I am an obese individual. Like I had my shirt off with the camera on before I come in, I started recording, and I was like, I see it now. I understand why I'm not approached at the beach. I'll say that much. But yeah, they're all super fit and skinny. And I was just like, I got to get on that diet, whatever they got going on. And then there was another one. I don't know if this happens in all series from all countries, but maybe this is just a Asia Pacific series type thing. When something bad happens to, and I guess this does happen in other countries with other productions and series, but so say something bad happens to Karube, right? And he's punched or pushed to the ground, and his friends are like, rush to his aid or something like that. They always go, but it's always like Karube. Like it's always so, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I know I get it if you've tuned out and you think I'm a bigot and what is it called? Zionist? No. Xenophobe, if that's how you view me. Okay, cool. Another label to slap on my forehead. But that always just gets me where it's like, Arisu! Like the loud yelling of the name as if that will do something to a guy who just got like gun butted in the nose. Like I never really got that. Like this person just suffered tremendous, immense physical damage. And you yelling their name, I don't know that's gonna do anything. I don't think that's gonna reverse the curse. So, but that's nitpicky Neal, y'all. That's what I do. I pick the nits. So, but overall, I thought it was a great show. I'm looking forward to season 2. But it like the one thug, Naragi, I think it is. Naragi. And this must be like a good character, I thought. But in terms of like, bad guys, you think about some like ultimate bad guys in like some maybe English first language productions, American productions. And then you look at like what is considered like a villain type archetype in Japan or something like that, and it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't strike fear into your hearts until he starts to let loose with the friggin' gun, dude, and you're like, oh yeah, that he does not. Okay, it's a psychopath. And it's oof. I mean, the scenes in I don't want to give anything away, but the scenes toward the end where it's just like, I'd imagine anyone who's gone through anything that's similar to that would be triggered as hell, because that was like, it gets pretty like, whoa, this is insane. But yeah, so I mean, great series. Looking forward to season 2. All right, well, I promised myself that I was going to keep this to under an hour, and now we're 2 hours in. So I should probably sign off. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks so much for watching. And we'll talk to you next week. Adios, muchachos.